When it comes to discussing the realities of parenting, you can expect some sensitive material and occasional profanity.
Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Anonymous Mom, a podcast where two childhood friends reconnect to discuss mom life, adulting, and everything in between.
And this week, the struggle is comparison. Comparing ourselves to others.
Which I don't believe anybody is comparison free. I don't think you can be free of comparison, even if you really want to.
Even a narcissist compares themselves to others.
Mm-hmm. So I found it crazy because I do think as the older I get, the less I compare myself to. But I will say, I think then I try to do the good comparison where it's like I compare myself to how I was before, like you do the inner comparison.
Yeah.
Good and bad, But I think when it comes to comparing yourself, I find social media is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. And then I back up and I'm like, why do I fucking care? Why am I like, oh, well, she's doing that. Maybe that sounds fun. But I think the hardest part with comparison is social media again.
Comparison and motherhood too. I think the big thing is the pressure of what it means to be a good mom. Mm-hmm. And this idea of a certain parenting being the litmus test for that.
Right.
And then, if they have all this stuff, then they must be doing it the quote right way.
Right.
But what we were talking about before we started recording is all of that stuff. It might not even be real. I saw a TikTok of this person and she was in this, really lush living room and she was sipping coffee and, had this music playing. And then there was just text that said, "This is not my living room."
Yeah.
So even that, there are people out there who stage this shit. They rent out a fucking room.
Yeah.
So that you think that they have this amazing life and they don't.
Yeah.
So you're comparing yourselves to not reality.
Yep. Which is unfortunate because I feel like
you're comparing yourselves to an illusion. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. So one of the things that I looked up was, what is the main thing that mothers compare themselves to? What are the 7 main things? Number 1 was their parenting style, ironically.
Yeah. Shocked.
Yeah. Because I do think we all have this idea of what we think we want to parent like, and then it actually comes along and we're parents, and then maybe it's not what we thought we were going to parent like too. And then maybe you see someone else parenting like you thought you were, and you're like, oh my God, am I fucking up my kids? I'm maybe just speaking from experience.
Got some internal dialogue happening.
And so welcome to my brain. And then number 2,
I feel just at home in it because I have my Gemini rising and my Gemini moon and my Gemini 5 other fucking things. Go on.
Just match. And then the other one was how quickly another mom loses weight after having a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, women comparing themselves is just such a shit show when it comes to that.
I remember too, and I think we talked about this with the breastfeeding one of the moms I had were like, oh, breastfeeding is just going to suck all of that out. And you're going to be back to just being skinny. And then I couldn't breastfeed. And then also having this.
And that was the weight loss plan.
Yeah. And these were women who had vaginal births versus me who had a horrific C-section.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do all of these. Like I said, it's that idea of you have to do all these things to get that. And I didn't get that, and that bullshit. But that's another subject. But yes, I completely understand that one.
Yes. So then the other one was how effortlessly they go through life. Other moms go through life. And this was one of the things that, again, is an illusion because I don't care how easy someone makes parenting look. Everything isn't always beautiful. Let's be for real. And then number 4, how perfect their marriages are. Because again, it's just...
I'm going to go real dark here. That Chris Watts, the guy who murdered his family.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They had all those professional family photos and all those videos of how happy they were. And she posted so much of it. It's actually a red flag.
Right.
that it's not as perfect. You need to show other people because you know it's not okay.
Yeah. I mean, I always think you never know what happens behind closed doors, A. And guess what? It's also none of my business what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I also know that a marriage is fucking hard work. It's not easy. I love my husband a lot and we get along very well. However, we both want to throat punch each other every once in a while. We both want to be away from each other every once in a while. We both irritate the fuck out of each other sometimes, but that is marriage and that is how it is. Not everybody's is perfect. And if they're saying it's perfect, then they're fucking lying. That's not how the world works. But okay, number 5.
Well, what's your idea of perfect?
Exactly.
Because perfect isn't there not being, there has to be contrast. There's always contrast in life, is whether or not you see the benefit of that contrast or whether or not you believe that that contrast is something that doesn't mean that you can't work through it.
Well, and
then there's times where, like I said, Chris Watts, get the fuck out of there. But you're talking about just a general.
Right. And also too, everybody's idea of marriage is different. My idea of marriage is completely different than some of my friends' ideas. This one, number 5, I do think is a big one, especially because of social media. How many mom friends they have. They compare.
Are you judging me right now? I'm just kidding.
Should I be? Why did I?
Because I don't have any friends.
Yes, you do.
I'm okay with it though. That's the thing is I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I mean,
but I see why. Yes.
I mean, I know so many people that are like, oh, you're out doing stuff with your friends, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, they also have been my friends since high school. We're not like our middle school, elementary school.
Yeah.
Like, these aren't new friends that you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and they're your friends too. Let's be for real. That's not.
Yeah.
But it's hard because I do think there are moms, a lot of moms, that don't feel like they have any friends and then they're on social media.
Or feel that they need them.
Yes. Let's circle back to our episode of making friends. That's a thing. And like, obviously it's a huge comparison if it's number 5 on the list.
Anybody listening though, just know if you don't, you're okay and you're going to be okay. It's just fine.
Yeah. You're fine.
Just get a hobby. Like we And this is no diss. Like, I love my friends. I don't feel that I'm missing anything, though, by not being out and being social all the time. Would it be nice every now and then? Sure. But I don't feel this weight of emptiness because I'd rather read a book. That's just who I am. Do I need to get out of the house every now and then? I know. I'm being reminded every week. By Minnow Pond.
You need, and then I want to text you and be like, dude, you gotta get out of the house.
You're never gonna meet your soulmate if you stay inside your house, Pisces. I know this. Okay.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
Go on.
Number 6 is other people's children, that you compare your children to other, which it's hard because I do think I follow a lot of teen mom stuff, not teen mom. Teen mom and pregnant, not that.
I'm sorry, you're comparing yourself to...
No, not that. Teen mom Instagram accounts that focus on having teenage kids.
Moms of teens.
Yes,
there we go.
Moms.
Yes. No, because like I was getting a little weirded out. I'm like, you're following all these teenagers who are mothers?
No.
Okay.
So, and I'm reading a lot of the things that they're posting and it's like hitting home because you're hearing these things and it's like, okay, again, I'm not alone. I feel like way better. And that's the thing.
Well, so
there are things out there that
can be a slippery slope. Even so, what we were saying, because if you get too much into like, yes, these people, they resonate with me and I understand, it's the same. Then you could get down the slippery slope of now I need to do what they're doing or be how they are. And so we say this every time, but it's about balance and having some sort of boundaries of thank God there are other people going through this like me, but that doesn't mean I have to now be them. However these people could all be fucking fake.
Yeah. With the seeing other people's kids and like the well-behavedness, or then when they're in sports and they're doing this and then that's a hard one. And then the other one too that I'm reading with these moms who have teenagers is the high school stuff and they got approved to this college or they're getting this college. And then it's like, that's something I didn't even think about till I'm reading these. And I'm like, oh my God, that's one thing, that's another thing that's going to come up along. So I'm just going to put it on the back burner. Yep. Put it on the back burner because
you got a little time.
I got some time, but I actually find myself sometimes not wanting to share things that my kids are doing on social media because I don't want to be like, look what my kid's doing. but then I also do want to be like, fucking A, this is awesome. I'm really proud of my kid.
Yeah.
So there's that slope of, do you want to do that or do you don't want to do that?
This is kind of off topic, but both of us have had our children this fucking eclipse season. Our children have been going through it hard. And there are parents out there who share things on social media that aren't meant to be shared.
Yeah.
Like the stuff they're going through, I could put online or on this podcast. But then you have to think your child is going to be an adult. And this isn't the 80s where you could, like say something and it's not going to be
right. I would love to share some of the stuff that goes on with my kids, but I also have respect and boundaries for them.
Yes.
That's not my
I shared it with you because it's like I needed to share that because
you need to get it off your chest and have
both of our kids were going through some major ridiculous
talk about some stuff and be normal and have instead of but you could be the opposite way and pretend all that stuff didn't happen and be like la-di-da-di-da, everything's perfect, like no, that's not normal either. So
and why astrology helps both of us knowing what this energy is right now with the eclipses and Mercury retrograde. It really helps us navigate through the stuff we went through this week.
Yes. And P.S. this is going to come out in 2 weeks. So think back 2 weeks from now. How crazy fucking shit was. If you had moodiness, craziness, weird shit happening. My 6th grader got hit in the face with a softball and has a severe black eye.
Yes.
Anyway, so it's like, look back 2 weeks from now. And if you can look back and go, oh my fucking God, start looking into astrology. Okay, back to number 7. And this is the almighty one that everybody compares themselves to, whether you're a mom or you're not, is how much money other people have.
Oh God, yeah.
And you never know how much money people have. And some people can act like they have a lot and have none. Mm-hmm. Some people can act like they have none and have a ton. So
if you saw my uncle in public, you would not think he's as rich as he is.
And there's so many of those people. And I think that's one thing that gets looked away from is that like we look at the people who are very extravagant.
Mm-hmm.
As parents, or as moms, I'm going to say, women in general don't want to talk about money because I think it's one of those things where it's like a slippery slope because you don't want to be too showy, but then I want to be proud of what I've worked for and made. Mm-hmm. So then there's that. But it's like, again, it's a rock and a hard place. You're never going to win no matter what you do. And then there's when you do have a certain amount, then it's like, well, you should be doing this with that if you have that amount of money. So those were 7 things that moms find themselves comparing, which I think we've all probably fallen in those categories. Mm-hmm. Knee-jerk reaction is, no, I don't want to, but I think we probably all had that thought at some point in time. And then you're like, nope, not going there. And I think that's just the thing to learn is know when to go, okay, I had the thought. It's a thought. Let's move past it. So.
Well, and we were talking about balance and comparing yourself sometimes can be motivating to keep you wanting to continue working towards success or continue nurturing your child's development by like, well, these are the tools that can help you to have your kid be more emotionally regulated. But then, like we said, there's that you can go, everything is about balance and boundaries. I found this really interesting is with comparison and comparing yourself to others too much. The feelings of jealousy, frustration, and hopelessness emerge if comparisons continue. If left unaddressed, it can cause chronic anxiety and depression, which can stem from such behavior. This is the part that I find most interesting. To avoid comparisons, people may look for others' faults to make themselves feel better.
Yes. As a mom, a woman, I'll be like, well, they have time for that and I don't. And using those or that comparison. And this is jealousy. One thing, yes. And this is one thing where I try very hard not to say because I fucking hate when people say this. Must be nice.
Yeah. That's a knee-jerk reaction response. Yeah.
Yes. When people say must be nice to me, I go, you know what? It really is.
It really is.
It really is. Yeah. It is nice. And I appreciate it. So thank you for appreciating that.
It goes to jealousy, right? So you have people who look at you and, this idea of, oh, well, like you said, must be nice. Like, wow, must be nice that you got to be a stay-at-home parent. And then there's people like me where it's like, damn, that's awesome. And something that I want to strive towards and instead of this idea of there being resentment. And that resentment comes because they're only seeing this illusion of
what they envision
your life versus
their life. It's how they think it's happening and over here. But in reality, it's and it's how they feel like they would be acting if they were a stay-at-home mom is probably not what I'm doing as a stay.
Well, and here's the deal, like we're not all on the same playing field, and that is an illusion. But if you're only going to compare that,
one of the things that I found, which comparison is the thief of joy. It is 100% the thief of joy. If you live in a world where you're constantly comparing yourself to everything, you are stealing your own joy. And we said it in the last episode with the last struggle one was envy into inspiration. If you are finding yourself comparing yourself all the time to other moms, I think, and I am not a professional or anything like that, but the one thing that I think is take a step back and actually think about things that you have, that your big moments, your big things, that someone might be looking at you and going, oh God, look at what she had, like not like one-upping by any means, but there's probably somebody out there comparing your life or their life to yours, Like
we said with social media, dude, that shit is 90% of it is an illusion. For the people who, like I said, the projection, the people who shout the most usually have whatever they say they're against or that they have, it's usually the opposite. But this is something interesting too. So this is from the Albert Ellis Institute. And they say, quote, the danger of comparing ourselves to others is that our comparisons are never fair. Each one of us is a unique individual with characteristics and life events that are unique to only us. So unless you've been cloned at birth and your clone has been following you around and engaging in everything you do and exactly what you're thinking, I'm pretty certain that when I say that comparing yourself to another is a dead end, it is our life experience that makes us vastly different from those around us. End quote. It's not a cookie cutter of what it means to be a good mom, to have money, to
have the kids that have 4.0s and are going to high-end college, it's not all the same. And you could do the exact same thing that all these people, that the person, like, let's say you compare yourself to one person, you could do all the same things. There's still going to be a different ending.
And, going back to us being moms, when you're doing that, you're instilling in them that that's how you operate. Right. And I go back to that, the jealousy and the negative. So like making fun of somebody because they're, quote, different than you. And you're instilling that in your kid. And that could be the person with money and judging them because they have money, or the person who doesn't have money, or the person who is a different skin color than you. Judging off of these things as that being their character. It's at the end of the day, be kind and treat others the way you want to be treated. If you're doing that and being like, oh my God, look at that person, and then laughing, your kid thinks that that's what you do when you see somebody who is in contrast to what they identify as themselves.
Right.
So it's a slippery slope, especially with body comparison. Do I still have body comparison? Yes. But is it crippling anxiety after having a kid? No, because my body was just royally just...
Well, and two, I think women comparing themselves to other women is something that's never going to stop. It'd be amazing if it did, but it's not.
No.
It's just coming to terms or finding a way to not go down the rabbit hole of comparison when it comes to body
boundaries.
Image. Yeah. I think it's hard because
you have to be mindful.
Right. You do see sometimes women that you're like, oh God, I wish I could look like that. And then
think of what it takes.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's exactly. Think of what it takes to do that.
Yeah, I can appreciate. And then I'm like, God, I appreciate that. Comparison's just hard. It's just hard. You're never going to not do it. Just like, I think you're never going to be judgment free either, unfortunately. As much as I try not to be judgmental, I still get those thoughts. And then I'm like, oh, hey, turn it off. Don't do that.
It happens. But to strive for being kind to others and treating people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
That's the goal for me, at least, is...
Yeah. Don't steal your joy. When you start to compare yourself, just don't. You're just going down a bad avenue. When it comes to the social media, I don't go on there and go, I'm going to start comparing myself to these people. You go on there and you start...
slope, yeah.
Yeah, you start looking, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh,
Yeah. You
It's-
don't
it's-
notice it's happening. What the gauge is from what we're learning is, do you have resentment and jealousy?
Right.
This is where you have to check yourself. If you're looking at that person and it's causing resentment or jealousy, you're down that slippery slope already.
Yeah.
And to like snap out of it and be like, other people and what they have or what they do does not define how you are going to have your joy.
Right.
But it can be motivating too.
Yeah. Comparison can be a bitch, but it can also be motivating to go, I maybe want that and I'm going to try that, and not resentment attached to it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not an easy one. And that's why, again, it's a fucking struggle.
And we circle back.
Because that's all the time we have. So, what do you struggle with? Most likely, I feel like the majority of people that struggle with comparison is the haves and the have-nots.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do have, it doesn't stop, unless you're Jeff Bezos, there's really a lot of people above you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to know if he could, like, dear Jeff, do you compare yourself? Because, he listens to our podcast about moms, about motherhood.
Maybe he's intrigued.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Don't know who's listening.
Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you all next week.
Peace out. Thanks for tuning in to Anonymous Mom. Have a question you want answered or a topic you'd love for us to discuss?
Email us at anonymousmompod@gmail.com. Or if you want to remain anonymous, join our Facebook group, Anonymous Mom, where you can post your topic or question anonymously.
Thanks for listening.